Hey guys, this is Grandmaster Eugene Perelshteyn, and together with iChess.net, welcome to this video. I want to share with you another game from Reykjavik Open, which I feel is very, very instructive and one of my best games. If you recall, this is the tournament which is held every year in Iceland, which I highly recommend to visit if you've never been to Iceland. Really beautiful country. And this is a tournament where I finished fourth. Very good result for me. And in this round, I'm playing a very talented Ukrainian woman grandmaster, her name is Evgeniya Doluhanova. She is rated 2275. And just prior to this round, the early round, she beat a very strong 2600 grandmaster. So I have to take her seriously. So why is this game very instructive? Well, first of all, I want to show you a cool trick in the opening that I picked up from none other than the world champion Magnus Carlsen. He only used this idea in Blitz, so you can argue that it hasn't really gotten the popularity yet, but I've analyzed it out, I really liked it, and I wanted to try it out this game. All right, so without more introduction, let's quickly jump into the game. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. Everybody knows this is called the Spanish game or the Roy Lopez, and everybody's playing this move knight f6, right? Everybody knows it's called the Berlin. This is the main line. Well, guess what? I play neither of these two most popular moves. I play the move that you probably have never even seen. A novelty on a pretty high level, bishop b4. Almost no grandmaster games, only a few. Really not a well-known move. At first, you may wonder, what does this bishop do? Aren't you going to get hit with c3? Well, that's exactly my idea. That's what happened in the game. c3, bishop here. By the way, taking the knight is actually never good. I can take with the pawn, and after knight takes e5, this is a very strong idea. Double attack the pawn and the knight. So I'm going to get my material back. So castle's logical move, knight g7, kind of following the footsteps of the world champion Magnus Carlsen. She plays logical move d4, I take, and here I'm a little bit surprised already by her. She took with the knight. Not the first choice, you may realize, because pawn takes is the logical move. Maybe she knew about it, maybe she felt it, it's not the best move, maybe, I don't know why she took with the knight, but actually, believe it or not, this center is not that dangerous for black. Only if you react the right way. And the right move here is d5. This was the game where Magnus actually, I think he won this game. It went like this, takes, takes, and now bishop's under attack, and if knight goes there, we can take the knight. So this is forced, we can take back, takes, castles, and this game was played against Georg Meyer, very strong 2600 plus grandmaster in the Chess Pro League, where after a rook here, the bishop has to go back either to f4 or even g3, doesn't really matter. Magnus plays knight a5 and has pretty good compensation for the pawn. Knight's coming here, this is weak, this is pretty serious pin, and black is really comfy here. So that's what I had in mind, but my opponent, she took with the knight. Completely different ball game now. I castle, she pins me, and now the fact that the knight's on e7 gives me great flexibility to kick the bishop with f6. Bishop here, and now simply bishop to b6. Once again, the idea is when the knight develops to take and hit the center. I'm going to get a beautiful position against the IQP. Pawn's coming here, knight is a great blockader, and the bishop has pretty much anywhere beautiful f5 or e6 square to develop. Immediate equality, I would argue black is already slightly better. So she didn't want to do that. Instead, she plays c4. Very interesting decision, and this structure reminds me of the Maratsi bind. Now, normally Maratsi bind structure is supposed to be good for white, except here the bishop is oddly placed on b5, and that's why I think this setup is actually not very good. I simply play d6, h3. By the way, knight c3 runs into a little problem. knight e5, and if f3 or h3, then a6, hitting the bishop, and guess what? The pawn is really weak. And if you don't play h3 or f3, then knight g4 is also an idea. So really lots of problems. White can't really finish the bind properly. So h3, knight takes knight now, takes, bishop e6, and guess what? Again, white can't play logical move knight c3 because of c6, losing the c pawn. So the bind is actually not very good if she had to do what she did in the game and play knight d2. Can we assess the result of this opening? Well, this bishop looks really bizarre. I've got a nice half-open file. These pawns are targets. My pawns are actually very nicely placed where my bishop is, has very nice targets, but it's not blocked by any of my pawns. And she can't even attack my pawns. That's the beauty of it. So this is the type of chess that black can play risk-free. And now with f5, I undermine that center pawn. She plays bishop a4 to quickly try to get back to the game. f4 gaining more space. Honestly, I'm not even sure if this is the best move. Knight g6 with idea knight f4 and just going for checkmate also looked really good, but I went for the dark square domination. With this move, I seize a lot of squares. e5 square, maybe d4 square in the future when my knight gets here. And I'm entertaining kingside pawn storm. Guess what? You guys probably heard about my books, Chess Openings for Black Explained, where I do a lot of dark square strategy, Bogo, Nimzo, Accelerate Dragon. Well, even though none of these openings are featured in this game, the ideas, and remember guys, I only focus about ideas, not memorization. The ideas such as dark square control are going to be quite visible here. So let's see what happened. Bishop b3. Now I have to be careful. If I play something like knight c6, there's a tactical trick. All right, she has a tactical trick. Let's see if you can spot it. And the move is c5. And if bishop takes, check, and that's the important intermezzo. And now she can take either here or here. My advantage is absolutely gone. So you got to be careful, even in these types of positions. So again, prophylactic thinking is the rule of the day. Simply get out of the way. So c5 is never possible. This bishop is looking kind of like a big fat pawn, and this is not going to help. The knight is pretty passive. My rook can actually swing over to this side when necessary. All right, knight here, knight c6, rook c1, queen f6, hitting the pawn, rook c3. She's trying to get the rook into the game. And now, very nice strategic decision that I found during the game. We really need to plant our knight on e5. But okay, this guy can take or go to d4. These kind of positions are not so clear. So what to do? So the key is how do we get rid of this knight on f3? So I came up with this idea. Bishop f7 to simply pin the knight. Very efficient, elegant solution. She can't really stop it. So she plays knight h2, stopping bishop h5. And you already remember about the rook swing, right? How the rook can help out. Well, you can probably already guess my next move. Rook h5. The rook is very powerful on this fifth rank, protecting the bishop on h5. And there's really not much she can do about it. So she played rook e1, bishop h5, queen d2. I played rook g5, which already may be a slight inaccuracy in retrospect, because I actually don't want her to play bishop d1 and trade the bad bishop for my good bishop. And unfortunately, this move does allow the trade. I'm still better, but why even allow this? So I think queen g6 would have been a more cunning approach. This move is impossible. This is preparation, and there's a lot of problems for the king to solve. But what I played is okay as well. Bishop d1 is correct decision. Trade the worst piece. Takes, queen g6, forcing f3. And now we can say that black is going to play risk-free, meaning that white obviously has no counterplay. Black is better on the king side. Black is also better on the queen side. The drawback, of course, is that it's going to be really hard to crack these defensive mechanisms. So I played h5, queen f2, and now since I can't really organize my attack, I got to shift to the other side. Queen f6. She played king f1, which in retrospect turned out to be a useless move, but she was trying to get out of the way. Rook c5, a3, activating the other rook. She realized, all right, we need to get the king back to the h1 square. I play knight e5. Notice the systematic approach here. Bring the rook, the other rook, start targeting the pawn. Queen d4, queen f7, rook here, knight c6, kicking the queen back, rook a5. So what is this maneuvering all about? Well, I'm basically regrouping to see if I can try to continue targeting this pawn. You know, one weakness in chess is not enough to win the game. I really need to loosen her up a little bit more. How can I get more firepower here? So rook d1, knight back to e5, attacking the pawn, queen c2, rook to a4. You see, attack, attack, attack. This pawn is now in danger. She plays rook d5, stopping my queen from helping out. And now I simply played g6. I'm not in a hurry, right, guys? I can always regroup later. This move is a useful move in many regards, protecting the pawn. Potentially my king could get active in case of an endgame. Knight f1, good move. Finally, she realized this knight is useless on h2. It's going to come back to d2, help out, or even get help on b1. King h7, also useful move. Knight d2, maneuvering continues. Queen f6, knight b1. And now, notice one important thing. We're both kind of hovering around this part of the board, right? This is called the queen side. That's where the majority of white's pieces are stuck now. Now, because of the flexible structure that I have and a little bit more space on the king side, I can start shifting everybody over to the king side at the right moment. And here comes my queen. Queen can come here, e1. The pawn can start the storm. She plays rook d1 quickly, queen g3, and then another move, b3, rook here, and queen f2, just quickly getting my queens off the board. Logical idea, but it also frees my king, because now my king can come over there, support the pawns, and then I can start the push. So let's see what happens next. g5, b4, and simply rook to a4. I have to keep an eye on this pawn. So white's only counterplay is now c5. Very instructive endgame. Is this enough for white to get counterplay? Probably not. Let's see what happens next. Rook d5, rook e8, and she realized actually white is completely stuck. Here's a big question for everyone. Why is c5 not such a great move? Obviously, this was all of white's intention going back. So if you need to think a little bit more, pause the video. And the idea is that I have a cool move. I just take this way, play c6. Notice d7 square is under control. And when the rook goes back somewhere, d1, doesn't matter where, I just simply take the pawn. Another idea is I can actually play b5. This pawn is not going anywhere, and then later occupy that square either with the knight or the rook. The king is simply going to walk to e7. I can go here, play rook c4, and just little by little go after this pawn. So this is not what white had in mind. Instead, she plays a tricky move, rook to b5. So the idea is the same, to play c5, and if I take ever with the pawn, she's going to take the pawn. So I simply go here. Again, setting up a little trap. For instance, let's say she plays king e2. Can you guys spot the trap? Black to play and win. If you need more time, go ahead and pause the video. And the move is quite simple. Trap the rook, and then you win the exchange. Pretty cool. All right, going back to the game, she realized after rook a7, she has to go back. King's coming in. Here comes the king. That's it. King's on e6, and now I activate the rook. The final assault is going to be decided over here with the g4 push. So knight c3, interesting decision. Offering me the pawn. Okay, guys, you can of course start calculating what happens if you take on c4, and then maybe you can even take the pawn here. Knight and the rook may start getting counterplay. All of this is not what I had in mind. Remember, don't allow counterplay. With a very simple move c6, she has to realize that pawn's under attack. So is the second pawn, and simply goes back. Not a big deal. My king is right where I want him to be. Rook h8. Final preparations. This would be a little bit too early, I think. Why? Well, because after takes, the h file could potentially be contested later. I'm not in a hurry. I'm going to play g4 with all the preparations that I have to do. King here, and here is g4. Takes. Now, of course, I can simply check, take, win the pawn. But guess what? She's so paralyzed, none of these pawns are going anywhere. I simply play rook g8 to take this pawn next. This guy's going to fall, and I've got a nice passing. Well, position is under, scrutiny. Already you realize white is lost. So she tries her best to hold it, but probably not enough material is left for white to hold the position. I'm just going to take all the pawns. Check, takes. Here comes another pawn. Another pawn. She gives up this pawn to try to go after my f pawn, and I simply protect it with the king. Position is utterly lost. 3 connected passers. These guys are all broken up. Well, now the technical part begins. How do you win these types of positions? So let me show you. First you play c4, knight here, c3. Push the pawn as far as you can, paralyze the king. Then, after knight check, here activate the rook. This is actually mate if she's not careful. So now the knight is paralyzed. The knight can't move anywhere. And I've got these 3 pawns, guys. Just start pushing them. That's right. b5 takes b4. Who cares about the 3 pawns that are all broken up? Remember, the pawns that can easily be pushed to queen should be pushed. This is a pretty serious threat now. She goes here to stop it. Here comes my knight. Again, the big threat is here. By the way, this is a beautiful fork. She can't even do this. So now this is kind of desperation. b3. And she duly resigned. Well, the key here to realize is that there's no defense. I'm threatening this, followed by check. I don't actually need my rook to win the game. So let's summarize what happened here. Well, I surprised her in the opening with this bishop b4 move. Really interesting idea. Then it was a very nice dark square control strategy. Notice the idea to get this pawn to f4, secure the outpost, right? Then the regrouping happened. Bishop coming to f7, h5, activating my knight. Okay, I have to give credit to my opponent for defending really well for a long time. And then it took me really a long time, shifting left, shifting right, shifting left, shifting right, until finally in the end game, I was able to target 2 weaknesses. Remember the principle of 2 weaknesses, right? The a3 pawn and then this g4 push resulted in me winning this game. So I hope you enjoyed this battle. More to follow. Thank you very much. This was Grandmaster Eugene Perelshteyn.